to the nation of Israel, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Zebulun, etc., etc. All right, which is known today as Negroes or blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Right, they're children of God, the real Jews. Right, and also you have the dispersed among the Gentiles. So you have people like we had a brother come out last week from Morocco, right? And even the name Morocco goes back to the Moors, right? The time of the Moors, which basically is a byword, all right? Because it goes back to the word black, all right? So the Moors of that time, and now you have a nation known as Morocco, which basically is a ode to the throwback of the Moors, all right? But basically, we're to speak of the biblical prophecy within the Bible, right, is presently playing out before our eyes. Right now, you're seeing this whole thing with monkeypox. They're saying that's the next thing to happen, all right, and that everyone should start wearing masks again, and how it could be possibly deadly. Also, you're seeing with food shortages due to, on one hand, they're saying due to the war in Ukraine and Russia, right, who supplies 1/3 of the world's grain, right. Then you have also diesel prices going up, which is having a direct effect on the ability for farmers to fuel their tractors, right? So what does that mean? That means that they have crop growing, which they're not able to tend to due to the fact that they can only use their tractor. They have to be mindful of how they use their engines, right? And then also you have fertilizer, which comes out of Ukraine as well, Ukraine and Russia. Due to the war, that makes it more difficult for there to be production of crop. Well, there's another word for crop that's escaping me right now. Of not resource, grain, or there's another word, but we ran on there. But the point being is, all these things you're seeing happening upon the earth, they're all written inside of the Bible, right?
Amos 5. Let's start from 16. And it says, "Therefore the Lord Yahweh, the power of hosts, the Lord, saith thus, wailing shall be in the streets, and they shall say in all the highways, Alas, alas. And they shall call the husbandman to mourning, and such as are skillful of lamentation to wailing." Here it says what? The husbandman to mourning. The husbandman is what? Those that till the ground. So that's something you have to have happening. They said, like, even with what's going on in Ukraine, it's like, bro, there's a harvest, bro, ain't no one gonna be able to touch that harvest because they're getting their fucking hands blown off, man. That's something that's gonna impact everyone. And then other places that grow, they ain't gonna have the means to sell. Because why? Because they're gonna have to keep it for their own lands. And then they mentioned, so even with the grain, they mentioned there was a bunch of countries, like African countries, where they said what they get subsidized grain.
Oh yeah, Egypt, like
where they get subsidized grain from like Russia,
Lebanon and that.
and then it's like if there were those people who were talking to them and said if they had to pay full price, then it's like they ain't even making a profit, and they can't even survive. The price goes up like 20%, 40%, 60%. It gets to the point where they went from just surviving to where they're fucked. And that's where you're gonna have a lot of people where they're going to get into the period of where they're gonna be what? They're completely done. And then as such, it's what? Then they're gonna start to be fucked. They're gonna become Somali pirates, and then it's gonna get even more fucked. That's the thing as well. It's like you had that time where it was Iranians, I think, were grinding up a bunch of thingies, and that was fucking prices of things up. As shit gets more dire, I was watching a YouTube video. A guy was going into like the pirates. They said the Nigers were getting in on it because they were getting raped by Shell.
Nigerians, Nigerians.
The Nigerians, the Somali East Africans as well were getting in on it because they were done. There was no money. They couldn't eat. They're like, fucking hell. Like, let me just go nab some man and get some cash money. So as it gets more dire, it's going to get worse. And what does it say? So it says, and in all, verse 17, and in all vineyards shall be wailing, for I will pass through thee, saith the Lord Yahweh. Woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord. To what end is it for you? The day of the Lord Yahweh is darkness and not light. As if a man did flee from a lion and a bear. Yeah, the day is darkness and not light. You're fleeing from one calamity, fleeing from getting fucked up by one hench carnivorous animal, and then the next carnivorous animal is round the corner waiting. You're gonna be like, oh, you see the bear, you're like, oh my god! But you run around the corner, you're hiding in the bush. Then fucking Simba just rolls through and starts tearing out your chest. That's what's happening now. The brother's going through the list of fucked up things that are happening. I'm like, bro, there was an energy crisis just in the UK where energy prices were fucked. Man forgot because it's May and the sun's out. If we had like a cold snap, bro, people would drop dead because they had to choose between fucking like eating and energy.
And both of them are sky high prices.
Yeah.
So you really have to make a choice. Is it I'm gonna eat or is it I'm gonna be warm in my house? Alright, and then if you say I'm gonna eat and I'm gonna do some jumping jacks to keep warm, then you're just gonna all that food is gonna you're just gonna burn calories and be hungry again.
We're wrapping up in seven blankets.
Well, this is off the most high. So it ain't gonna be whichever decision you make, as the brother just read the precept, whichever decision you make is only you're gonna be confronted with the worst possible scenario at the same time. So you choose to have heat, then out of nowhere, the heat ain't working, something like shit on the point where it don't really work. So a time might happen where there's a recall on the food, because it's been contaminated. And they say anyone that's ate this food, Lord, that's how the Heavenly Father works, man. Alright, and how we know that? Because the brother just read the scripture, man. It would be as if a man did flee from a bear and a lion bear. Right? No escape.
Or went into the house and leaned his hand on the wall and a serpent bit. So yeah, that moment of respite, that's what people thought it was. It seemed like COVID was over, and then Russia was just like, fuck you, crazy. And then that was it. And then, from there, a bunch of other shit's cascading out. And now it's like, what? The thing is people are still going to try and enjoy their summer holidays, their whatever. We have to see what happens, man. Because, it ain't even halfway through the year. It's already, the theme has continued. It's been 2020 the second time over.
That's why the year is 2022.
Yeah.
It's 2020s, the repeat. And that's why you got just looking forward to the memes I seen over the years. I had 2012, and the numbers, and it's 2021. So it's the same thing now. That's why you're seeing the whole thing of monkeypox. Because it's the same thing. It's just another go around, basically.
Shall not the day of the Lord Yahweh be darkness and not light, even very dark and no brightness in it? Yeah, it's going to be overwhelming darkness, and that's really just being deprived of any form of understanding, and just being out completely at the whims of whatever the judgment's going down, man.
When you get a second, go to Wisdom of Solomon 7, and it's the last three verses. Just read it in discretion. It goes into the light. I think it's the last two verses. Where you may find something good.
So Wisdom of Solomon 7, I'll start from 25. For she is the breath of the power of the Most High, and a pure influence flowing from the glory of the Almighty. Therefore can no defiled thing fall into her. For she is the brightness of the everlasting light, the unspotted mirror of the power of the Most High, and the image of his goodness. And being but one, she can do all things, and remaining in herself, she maketh all things new. And in all ages, entering into holy souls, she maketh them friends of the Most High prophets. For the Most High loveth none. For the Most High loveth none. For the Most High loveth none but him that dwelleth with wisdom. For she is more beautiful than the sun, and above all the order of stars, being compared with the light, she is found before it. For after this cometh night, but vice shall not prevail against wisdom. Yeah? The light is
the word, wisdom. And that's basically what has the power. So what my brother read in Amos, the 5th chapter, speaking about what the day of the Lord being darkness. So wisdom is going to provide the light. That's why it was spoken of as being the hosts of heaven, the lights of the heaven, being out the stars and the sun. All right. But then it also said, after comes night, but the vice will stand against it. But it's saying only what it's saying in a very poetic way is that, hey, when that time of darkness comes, the only thing that's going to keep you in your eyes and in your head is the fact that you have the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the heavenly Father. Right?
Isaiah 33 and 6. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord Yahweh is his treasure. Yeah. Even fear of the Lord comes in as well. That's why. That's the beginning of wisdom. So, it all links up. That's essentially what the only avenue to have any kind of navigation of what's going down. Because as far as for everything that's out here, it's all darkness. It was mentioned before.
It was 5.
But I think I finished it with something else.
By the day of the Lord being darkness.
Yeah. That's something else.
Lost fell, Isaiah. Darkness part of all the people. Because a lot of the people out, everyone really, if you ain't in this faith, basically covered in darkness. Can't see a damn thing.
Isaiah 60:1. Arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord Yahweh is risen upon thee. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. Yeah. Darkness is what's covering everything. As far as what's the means of how they navigate this, they're utilizing Esau's so-called wisdom. But as far as with how with how people look at the brother mentioned it the video before about what the Big Bang and whatnot, all these different scientific theories that are used by Esau to kind of as his means to be this explains and breaks down everything. But that's basically coming from the viewpoint of confusion. Because as far as if you're going to get the understanding, you need to look at the scripture. If you're not looking at the scriptures, started off from a faulty foundation.
And that's why a lot of people, in this world, especially with our people, they have that spirit of, oh yeah, I know what that is. I know what this is. I know, because that's the Edomite spirit. When you go into the Apocrypha, basically speaks of basically seek those things that are higher than your strength. More is revealed unto you than people know. So a lot of things people don't even understand the seasons, right? They don't understand that the celestial bodies, they know the stars. They don't understand. They understand it because that's something for a wife, my time.
1 Corinthians 1 and 18. For the preaching foolishness, but unto us which are saved is the power of the Most High. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, and will bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent. right now you've got, I don't know, innumerable billions upon trillions of words written in all form of scientific research and papers and whatnot. Basically, you know, layering out all Esau's so-called breakdown of how things are understood. All of that is going to come to naught. This is the thing when once reality, Exodus 15, the Lord is a man of war. That's going to come in through what? Death and destruction, through violence. Just like what's happened in the Ukraine. Ukraine is a stellar example. All those things, all that talk, all that you know, theories and whatnot went out the window. Because why? It just came down to what? People shoot, laying off Kalashnikovs. And people getting blown up, people getting airstruck, people getting grabbed up, all kind of madness going down. Then, hey, suddenly it's become reality. And that's what's really gonna bring all the talking to an end, to when, you know, reality is gonna play out.
And this is why even the Lord right now dealing with when you said Russia and Ukraine, that's like how could I say, that's like a preview of microcosm and also a preview of what's to come. Well, microcosm can be the same thing, right? Because it's what's to come over here. You're gonna have that energy. You know, it's like how people can't believe that Ukraine, you know, a nation with beautiful pale skin, blue eyes, and blonde hair, but now at war. It's unbelievable. That's why you have Ukrainian people that never day in their life would ever go down to Ukraine, wouldn't even try their cuisine. They're now putting a flag up in their window. Right, they're donating.
They eat chicken Kiev every night.
Yeah.
So, first come skip down, verse 25. Because the foolishness of the Most High is wiser than men, and the weakness of the Most High is stronger than men. And that's another gap people can't get over. Because even when you hear people talking about, you hear atheists and whatnot, essentially people that have seen the scriptures talking about why would God do this? I'm like, bro, it's simply just like a fucking hand is looking at you. Like, why the fuck are you stepping on me, dog? I'm still my job. Then it's the same thing with you, like trying to come to the Most High and say like, yo, why is X, Y, Z happening? Bro, these ways are not your ways, man. These thoughts are above your thoughts. That's the gap, and that's a big part of Esau's failure. Because he's basically essentially been like, okay, well, even though, you know, that's what's said in the scriptures, I'm still going to go about and try and set my own self up, set up my own form of wisdom, my own form of understanding of the world. But it's every other week they come out and say, oh, we discovered this whole new species of this, or we discovered that actually this thing we thought worked one way works a different way. Because why?
Yeah, that's what they told. That's what the whole perception was saying about the moment. So I couldn't resist, man. Yeah.
We tried pussy for the first time. But is this one? Fucking hell.
Salakia, man. Salakia. Just gets embarrassed.
So it says, for ye see your calling brethren, how that not many wise men after the flesh, not many noble, not many mighty, not many noble.
Yes, this is as I said, please, the Most High saved him by the foolishness of preaching, but it also speaks as not many noble. So a lot of the people in faith, all right, they are noblemen, all right, because it tells you in the book of Jeremiah, the 5th chapter, I will get thee unto great men, right? Speaking of the men in Israel, that's the elect to the nation of Israel. But in terms of the worldly sense, which we're presently in the world, all right, in terms of the third dimension, right, we're here, all right. Listen, we're nobodies, all right. Some men, that's why I said not many. Some men have accolades as being athletes, but they may have had like some form of like monetary gain as well, or they may be revered for their wisdom. But for a general rule of thumb, it's not many noble as a brother of Google. It's just ordinary blue collar worker, man. Right?
so not many minds. You got like someone who's a supreme talent in the world of fighting. You know, the Mike Tysons, the Lennoxes, the Mayweathers, and whatnot. These supreme talents, they ain't really gonna. They're essentially gonna be able to utilize that in worldly sense. So then, they're gonna have the draws of all that. It's like, not if you're from noble stock in the worldly sense, say you come from a certain line or whatnot, or you got your family set in a certain state, then you're in certain circles. Then coming into the world and being downtrodden, being on the bottom, you're gonna have more draws out. But hey, that's why you're gonna have there'll be it doesn't say none, it says not many. But I think those are thingy as well, man. They're not even standard models, they're fucking fast.
That's the unchipped word.
Yeah, innit?
Unless you're still more unload, but getting hard chips.
Yeah, it's like
transporter. That's the addition he's got.
It's funny as well. It's like, even that film, fucking Transporter and the original, what's it called? Born Identity. You see the levels of technology, the cars and shit in it. I'm like, bro, it's like early 2000s, like shit was not that high tech. But now it's like, even Enemy of the State was meant to be that super high tech shit. I'm like, bro, you could just walk around, use a fucking a payphone. I'm like, bro, I don't even know if any payphones in London still work.
There's one over there, but that's really like
tourists will come over and take a picture of it. I was like, they might even have a line there, I don't even know. It's like, that shit is all done, but it's really lovely. I see what the North Side has done. Okay, throw that in the bin. I'm gonna set this up, through your needs. That's what I was saying. I was thinking, like, that word, Ezekiel 28:7. Film. I remember I read an article where they said, like, the amount of in the brain, like the amount of money it would cost to make one that could maintain all the connections the brain has is like beyond like financial feasibility. Like they'll need quantum computing to actually get a working model of the brain, like actually into a computer. That's just the electrical signal. That's not even the spirit. They're just looking to
even when you deal with a brain, the synapses.
Yeah, they break and make connections and that shit.
So that's the
like
that's
that's
to learn.
yeah.
But I just did a course at work, forklift license. First day I did that shit, man. I said I ain't passing this course. By the fifth day I was like, man, it's easy. Out there, looking at, feeding it. Man, that's because your brain power. The guy, my teacher drilled it into me. That's another very powerful work and this is what we're doing. When you come out on the highways and byways, this is the Heavenly Father's drilling, right? Any brother that kind of plays sport, like I played basketball in my youth, and the big thing we used to do was just drills. And I had a defense-orientated coach, so everything used to be designed around, man, if you got defense, like in terms of sport, most of the time, the saying goes, scoring win games and defense wins championships. I believe that's the saying. So defense is a lot more grueling because it's you're locking down your competitor, your opposition, making a difference for them to score.
That's why one of the most famous, the Romans, they were the Iron Teeth. Yeah. What's one of the most famous defensive formations? Phalanx. The shield formation. Yeah. That's the shit that everyone always. That's what the Vikings do.
Yeah. Defense trumps the offense and only fed into the offense. But when they got the better of them defensively, they capitalized on opportunities from one blow. And that was it. They kept on advancing forward and forward. So it's the same. I don't know. What's the point?
No, I remember
what was the original
point? No, because I was going into about the synapses and the mind.
Oh yeah, so playing sport, drilling away, it builds up. It basically breaks down one big task, No, they call it bulking. So you break down a big task. To the end of the course, I have to do a course. So basically what happened with the teacher utilized bulking, where you take the facets of the course and you break it down into little points and then you drill away. Now the reason why that can be done is because your mind synapses. And then once they drill away and they get very comfortable with those little tasks and those little drills, they basically put it all together and then you're able to complete the task. As the brother said, that's the spirit. You know, that's on one level that's basically like there's a carnal, yeah. But then there's another level where it's like the spirit is the energy that gives you the inspiration. Yeah. Because I killed them like, I was the worst in the beginning, but then I wound up being the most, meanest of the shit. And I could tell it's because through the spirit, because it's like how man's spirit, us, being an Israelite, the way our spirits are inclined, there's a whole lot, there's a saying, thingy of care. There's a something of care. I forgot. But basically, where we forgot the term, it's a perfect term. Basically, we're just more understanding of things. The rest of us, caution of care or something like that, I can't remember.
But yeah. Well, second one, bringing up this transcendence, and it's like what Esau trying to emulate it. They said, look, the computer, they're trying to map out the synapses, it can't even be done. But then that's what Esau's dream is. To fuse with technology, then he could be eternal. And then what happened at the end of that film? He just fused with everything in nature. Man was building cyborg, artificial humans and whatnot. Was able to get up in water, get up in fucking plants. That's what Esau's looking for. Ezekiel 28:2, Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, thus saith the Most High Power, because thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am a God, I sit in the seat of God in the midst of the seas, yet thou art a man and not God, though thou set thine heart as a heart of God. Yeah, that's as far as for Esau what? He's trying to be like a power on earth. He's trying to be like a God on earth. And that's with what? Being able to set up his own way of constructing things, of formulating people and whatnot. With the LGBT, the T in particular, like we're trying to, have surgeries, man them in disguise. But that's what
kept saying,
yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
The moment they find out the Skeptics got that song, right?
Yeah, I was like, this guy is done. He's done.
Let's keep it a good hat, man.
It's funny as well. Something about Jamie, I was going to tell you. I forgot. I just remember later. But no, I mean, I was playing Street Fighter. He's been playing it on the street. He makes beats and plays it. It's like,
with his fight against him.
Yeah. It's like one guy I know, like, in the same so he's like kind of telling him to get better with stuff to get better in the game. And it was like,
you just fucked him up.
Yeah, I fucked him up the first one. And then afterwards, I expected him to learn, but man was not learning. So I was like, it was funny as well, because he told me about it before, then I was like, Jamie, BBK. I was like, I bet that's actually Jamie. Yeah. Normally he's streaming, was like, yeah, that's funny stuff.
Yeah, he ain't quitting up on it.
Yeah, no, he does it on Twitch. Like I think he's like the most fucking Twitch. Like playing Street Fighter. That's why it's funny. Because he'll sometimes make beats, but they'll usually just play.
So your shit's about to blow up as well.
No, that's what else I was like, yeah. But it's funny because I stream on Twitch sometimes. It's just like so man can see, just to kind of watch to get advice on like how to improve. But that's it's like with anything. You know, the synapses you can have the capability there. And that's something that's like, bro, a fucking animal. Well, what's the thingy's dog? Lavrov's dog? The experiment where they have like there's a one with like the bird where they press the button and then you might get shot. There's a bunch of the experiments where it's like press a button, you get food.
Yeah.
Then it's like, oh, they'll press it until they get food. Then there's one where you press it and sometimes you get shocked, sometimes you get food, and then they got all those experiments. Animals will learn. That's why it's like, this shit is too layered, bro. You go to a plant, the plant gets blown by the wind, that nigga will grow in a certain way.
If it doesn't get blown by the wind, it drops
They'll
down.
die, and the one that does, bro, they'll be the ones that survive and drop the seed. So it's like, that's why it's
When
like,
they call it, Esau calls it natural selection.
yeah.
You know?
But it's
That's the heavenly father with.
so all these things there's too many layers on it. He's still trying to come through. That's why it's like, you do anything, like you do with an iPhone, that shit has to get fucking updates. Like, bro, human body don't even need updates.
Yeah.
Like your ass will
The
be out
update
there.
itself.
You can be defiling that body. If you want to use reproductive functions, you want to use your respiratory system, all these different things, got heart pumping blood, this shit will still work. Your ass can be smoking sugar and hard drugs. Somehow the woman can still bring a baby to term.
Yeah.
And you let your iPhone get one bitty virus, that shit's done. You gotta take it. They're taking it apart.
Reset the phone.
Imagine you have to do it, you get a virus.
Like
You gotta whack someone and then revive it, like, come up. But that's why it's like, what? It's a pale invitation. It says, behold, Ezekiel 28:3, behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee. With thy wisdom and with thine understanding, thou hast gotten riches and hast gotten gold and silver into thy treasure. Yeah, wiser than Daniel. He's been able to build up. That's the same thing as it says in Amos. Will return and build up the desolate places. He's been able to expand and push his influence over earth. Build up these desolate places. Everyone's basically wandering after the beast. They're all in the image of the beast around on the wall. But it what? It's even that. That's the thing. It's the same thing. The brother always mentions Egypt, Cleopatra, and Egypt. The same thing in Egypt. Egypt was built to where what? They sold the grain. I remember I did the video on China storing grain. They said they had they got like a year and a half. And China's like 1 billion plus people. They got enough grain to last them a year and a half, whereas everyone else is fucking destitute. So the people that are gonna get indebted to that grain, that's gonna what? That's gonna build up China.
And really, that's for the sake of what? What's that for the sake of? Psalm 60. I can't remember the washboard.
Psalm 60 and 8. Moab is my washboard. Over Edom will I pass my shoe. Yeah?
And he ain't gonna duck it like Bush, man. Because it's a Moabite throwing the shoe. So it's the most side throwing.
Yeah, that's Moab. But yeah.
What you're finding the president right now is they're talking about when it comes to China in the geopolitics. Russia, they're having some effect, and it ain't really subsequent the effect that they're having on Russia. It's to a point where the ruble now has become the greatest strengthened currency due to the mind of the Russians for them to basically everyone have to trade it. Yeah, and it's backed by gold, so it's like undeniable. It's like, wait, so okay, we got trading. You guys have a monopoly on the roof, on the gas.
Yeah, in Europe, it's
Europe.
like, bro.
And then now you're saying we've got to use your currency. Your currency is also backed by gold. So it's kind of not a bad deal. It's stable. So you have to be like, okay, cool. They're fucking with it. And then also, they try to do a couple things, is the point. But when you deal with China, they're going from strength to strength. Right? And that's why that whole thing that came out years ago when they were saying China's going to be the next world power, that's why it looks like that. Because really that prophecy is being coming to pass, basically.
Yeah. Where was it? So back in Ezekiel 28 and 5, by thy great wisdom and by thy traffic hast thou increased thy riches, and thine heart is lifted up because of thy riches. Traffic and trade. That's a big portion of why I want. Why America's been built up. Why all these Western societies have been able to build their properties. They went around the world, and everyone basically get linked in. That's why you have in a modern day where what was formerly the British Empire, but now they call it what, the Commonwealth, where all those lines of trade between Britain and these other places they formerly conquered, that keeps a bunch of different resources at bargain bin prices. And then even all the wealth they kind of accumulated, they keep it in. That's why it's like people come in, like really with especially with the UK, it's like people kind of come here to work. You'll have even if you have people come from like Commonwealth countries, from Africa, from Asia, whatever. A lot of them will come here, they'll set up, they'll come work for a bit, Polish as well, Eastern Europeans. Then they'll go and bring that wealth back to other parts of Europe. So it's these sort of,
You do have the West Coast,
Africa, yeah.
Should I say, as a whole, whether it be south, east, north, west. I know like the northern Africans like Algerians, Moroccans, Egyptians, they go home, they build their house with a swimming pool. They live like the king back home. Same with West Africans, like there's a big, you've got Lecky, VI, Victoria Island. Those are places where it's a far cry from the slums. Then you have like East Africa, same thing. They all go back, South Africa, they go back and they basically make themselves king in their own presence. That's because over here, this is the first world. The seventh piece, right? Which gave birth to the eighth in America. So that lets you know the superpower at play right now comes out of this place, right? And only, what did it say as well? The EU, right? They had power like, they weren't kings, but they had powers like in that bullshit. So that shows you the level of, they're the top of the pecking order, right? So anyone go back to the second or third world country of origin, they're gonna live, it may be, a tier above what is over there, but it's gonna be because they're taken from what? The rulers of this world.
Revelation 17 and 12, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength.
The 1 hour speaking about shall be used for a little season, as it tells you in Revelation 20. Or you don't know.
No, so the 1 hour is like the year they came together.
Yeah, 1958.
Oh, 58,
Yeah, 1958. So that's the little season, right? So that little, this is, oh yeah, I know what you mean. Esau's gonna rule for a little season. Salaka, yeah, you're right, I know what you mean. Because I'm using it the wrong way. Salaka. But yeah, they're gonna, that hour is thinking about in it. Really the last hour, they're gonna be there, as it's gonna say, for when the kingdom will be pulled down. They got a place, they got a pivotal part to play in Esau's destruction in their own council, right? Dealing with Babylon the Great.
They're going to specific times. I'll check it. But was I reading before? Ezekiel.
I was reading Revelation 18. No, 17.
And so these have one mind and shall, Revelation 17:13. These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is the Lord of lords and King of kings. And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. Yeah. So they're all in accord. They'll have one mind. That's what the EU, where they have the collective decision making. It's only one. Recently you had Britain hem themselves off from it. For what? They received it all as part of the whole agreement we had after World War II They said like, okay, they set up EEC to stop like wars happening, like the 2 world wars happening in Europe. So they said to stop Europe fighting against each other, they made it the communal community. And they said what the America would be the military arm essentially of the world, going around and kind of dealing with things.
That's why you had a, this is talking in a worldly sense. And that's why you also had England being a financial capital. The heartbeat of the earth being in between Japan and you know what I'm yeah. I was talking about financial wealth, what are they called? Stock market?
Stock markets, yeah.
Stock exchanges. Really, when you check it out, that's why you have the GMT down there in Greenwich, right? It's basically, you head over there, you'll find the middle of the earth basically, where time is set at 0, right? Because why? This is London, right? It's at the center point of the earth, right? England. It's the land of angels, which tells you a little side. Really, the reason why it's called England is due to the rulership during the Dark Ages or the Middle Ages of Israel, right? Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. That's why you have 3 lions on the shirt, as they say, because the 3 lions represent the 3 tribes of the kingdom of Judah, right? Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. So this is an ode to the rulership of Judah, right? The lion being presiding over the nation, and that's where you had the name, the land of the angels, right? Or the Saxons, right? The Anglo-Saxons, angelic sons of Jacob, right? So all this goes back to that. And we're at the center point of the earth for that fact. And in a flutter. And in the old world, where was the center point of the earth? For the inclusion of America or Russia. So it shows you ain't changed. That's why you got a poem by William Blake, Jerusalem, where they speak of making Jerusalem the green pastures of England. Right? So
that's why what they call the Crusades.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Crusades. The guy in there just like, yo, this is the Holy Land back. Jacob just like, yo, fuck it. Succeeded to an extent. And then they fucking, went out, got annihilated in the desert, man. Like, fuck more. But hey, that's the thing as well. It's all that history. These are things, bro. It's like people don't even know, because that's especially with the history of like when you go into the state of Israel, people say, oh, the Palestinians and blah blah blah. People don't even know the history of what went down in the land, how different people ended up there. Even the modern history of how the so-called Jews ended up in the land. These things are people are not clued in at all, and that's why a lot of things that go down, they'll just kind of be like, it's like even the EU. When I was younger, I didn't really consider it like, oh, the fact there's an EU. But then, hey, you put these things together, you start to work out why things are as they are. And then really you put it together, you can see Esau's done, hey, his ledger. It's full of, there's outstanding payments that need to be taken. That's why all of a sudden forgiveness is the main thing. Love and forgiveness.
Yeah.
So verse 15, and he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the horse sits, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues.
Yeah, that's going into previously in the chapter where it speaks of the whore that sat upon the beast. Now, many waters, as it broke down, is basically the world, right? So they have control. And that's why you have the world divided into first, second, and third world. Because the first world being where, the whore that sat upon the beast, it sat upon the waters, that's basically the second, that's, draining them of their resources, having control of them, upper hand.
Kind of funny as well, because I was watching a video, guys, kind of talking about American history. It's like, the way that country is, the shit is so young that, like, all the kind of concepts and whatnot, like, the people don't really have the only route they can go back to is so recent.
Yeah.
It's like that's why like their mindset, the whole kind of approach is different. It's like when you deal with like Brits, even if it's like these guys are alien a bit around, but they're thinking like, they're like, we're northern, we're this, we're that. They got some kind of route to go back to. The Americans they're just kind of out there doing whatever. Like gunslinging, Wild West, having cowboys. I remember. But that's why it's like they can kind of get away. Yeah, they can get away with different things, kind of over there. But the mindset of the people is different compared to like over here. That's why it's like even people say, there's a monarchy. It's like the institution of the Queen. There's people that are hella invested.
Yeah, they were happy to see the Queen making surprises. They're happy to see the Queen making surprise appearance. Because what? It's part of their culture. They uphold their Queen.
And that gives them. That's the thing as well as that history. That's something they could have built to as a full brain within themselves. They say, all this history, all this blah blah blah. And that as well as part of like Jake in the Americas. Them guys are done. It's like a history as far as it goes back to. They'll think they'll swinging of trees in Africa, and then then they'll just slaves.
White man saved them from themselves.
Yeah.
So they can make soul music.
And soul, yeah.
And soul food.
Grits.
Grits, yeah.
Shit. But that's a
Grits is nice though. I'll give you that.
Yeah,
I did some work with the huskers corn.
Yeah, man made something. Yeah. Nothing for real. What's Joe?
That savory grits with a bit of cheese. That American slice that ain't really cheese.
It don't even melt. It's there.
It's there.
It's just
that shit better. Otherwise, it wouldn't be saying. But yeah, that's what they got culture.
Job 8 and 8. For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers. Inquiring of the former age, that's something that's key. And that's why it's like really not. Even with America, like the way they're trying to teach their history, that shit, the whole American school system anyway, is completely total fucking mess. That shit, The Wire really shows how completely fucking hopeless that shit is. Because it's like, season 4 of The Wire, it's like the way, especially for Jake, them guys are in there, that shit's like a prison camp. That's why you can see a lot of them American schools, they'll have metal detectors and whatnot in front. Man said they have fucking like steel reinforced tables and doors. So when a school shooter comes in, they can just flip the tables and survive. I remember I watched a video where they were talking about a school that had been built in 2018 or 20 hella recently, and they said it was built similar to how they built prisons, like the way they had sectioned off certain hallways and whatnot, the way the rooms were built, how they faced and all these things. It was like a prison camp. I was like, bro, that shit is done, man. America's a mess. But it's because why? It exists for an express purpose, man. It's that war. It's not meant to be have longevity. It says what? For inquire, pray thee of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers. Yeah, knowing your root, knowing where you come from, that's something that's key to maneuvering through the world. Whether people understand it or not. The fact that you have, especially in Jake, where they have it's the matriarch family structure, where the mother, the grandmother will be at the root of the household, but then what stems from that? A bunch of confusion. The traditional family structure of having the masculine role, the feminine role, the father and the mother. That's all been thrown in the bin. And Jake essentially had that model before everyone else had it. Because that was what Willie Lynch. Through the Willie Lynch, that was how they broke down the Jake men to make more amicable slaves, essentially. And that's something that's carried over into society as a whole. But then what? It's like that complete confusion. Then it's like, what? How are you meant to build up a house?
The answer is you ain't.
Yeah, you can't. It's a self-perpetuating system of destruction. It's like you can talk to anyone with a black mother. It's the same shit. I'm like, so especially it's like Benjamin over here. They're well, even I say Benjamin. It's like the levels of difference between one girl. What she's gone in. She's saying like her parents are divorced, her friends' parents are divorced, like everyone.
Yeah, generation X.
Yeah, Gen X when that's when
it started.
The divorce rate started going up. Because that's when, and as well, it's like you have, Kevin Samuel has mentioned it. You have like the not the pros, what's the word, man? The stereotype or whatnot of the abuse of black father, the color purple, where you know he's drop kicking his daughter, he's raping and drop kicking his daughter, he's raping and drop kicking his wife, he's raping and drop kicking his like everyone's getting raped.
Everyone's getting raped
by the demonic black father. And then that's the thing is that was
you don't all keep drop kicking. That's his mode of transport.
Samuel Jackson just go around fucking up.
Drop kicking, yeah.
I don't know.
It goes from one place to another by drop kicking one person onto another person.
But that's you know that's the stereotype that was pushed out. But you know, to what extent does it really even happen? That's the thing as well. It's like all the dysfunction is glorified as well. That's why it's like they have even with the music. Like you go from you go to like 60s to 70s to 80s to 90s. It's like as it's degraded and like even more because there was obviously wickedness being spoken about. You know, like Mrs. Jones and whatnot. But then it's like now you have it in where it's talking about relationships. All it's talking about is abuse.
Rape. Well, you got like Summer Walker now.
Yeah.
And Scissor. And like the Scissor got a song called Weekend Lover. Like you have it Monday to Tuesday, Monday to Friday. I'll have it all week. Not that you know women sharing a man is a bad thing, but it's a culture of everyone's becoming. It's not dysfunction.
That's not gonna. Well,
that's not gonna raise children.
Yeah, it's destroying the family unit. Because that's the thing is the dysfunction was the Willie Lynch breaks it down. It was for what the destruction of the fucking the household unit, and that's what's been crumbled. And with destroyers, that's why you have this confusion. You have like the daughters going out doing all kinds of madness.
See girls, hot girls, summer.
Yeah.
Even the fact that they're holding Megan Thee Stallion in high regard. It's a lot of individuals I spoke to. They hate before she even got so-called shot by Tory. I hated her. I couldn't stand her. I'm like, this girl just all you do is stick your tongue out and twerk, man. What's wrong with you? Yeah. Like it was bad. Yeah. It was bad with little Kim and Foxy and that. But I can't even. I'm not even.
There was some tunes, and it was like.
Get You Home, Case and Foxy Brown.
Yeah.
You know, they're wicked, but the level it's gone to now
is vulgarity as well. It's like there at least would have been innuendo or like
that's it. It was all sick, and it felt like
implied. It was trying to
not
be
even. I'm not
sensual.
gonna say it felt like that song I mentioned was between one woman and one man. Like it was like wait until I get you home, baby. It's like her talking about her boyfriend, right? Whereas now it's like hot girl summer. Take you, just go out, put your pussy on the floor, man, leave it. Like it's ridiculous, man. Yeah. The level is like some West Indian fucking fashion.
Yeah. But that's why it's like, and that's the thing, it's degraded. Because why? It's all become confused. Because I'm like, bro, it's with like, and the thing is somehow that's become female empowerment. Because I was gonna say this, talking to the same girl, saying like, like, okay, I've given a punch from the force household. Because why? Because she ain't gonna have she's not gonna have an example of a positive relationship. So she's gonna have all her ideas of like what works. It's gonna be dysfunctional. And then she was saying like, yeah, you know, that's good. Because I asked her, I was like, oh, what are you looking for in a partner? She had a list of like 20 different things. And I said, let someone famous walk in, all that would go out the window. She was like, well, you know, you're not wrong. And so, and that's the thing. It's all confusion. There's no structure. There's no form. It's you know, that matriarchal household. It's a mess. You know, it's funny to me.
Isaiah 30:20. Though the Lord give you the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, yet shall not thy teachers be removed into a corner any more, but thine eyes shall see thy teachers, and thine eyes and thine ears shall hear a word behind thee, saying, this is the way, walk ye in it. When you turn to the right hand and when you turn to the left. So going into what you said about the search, read about the search of our fathers, right? I basically know we'll be in search of our fathers. Basically, that's through the Spirit. That's why we're out here teaching His word. We're bringing for the elect. They're going to hear that word. There's going to be spiritual inclination for them to get with it. Right? Let me read this as well. Romans 15:4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the Scriptures might have hope. So that's ultimately what you're doing when you're looking for when you're in search of your forefathers. Basically, we're finding hope, right? And the best example is, you know, I mentioned in the video I did before that. Now, read this. That's already after the fact. Get straight to the point. Luke 1:64. And his mouth was open immediately, and his tongue loose, and spake and praised the Most High Yahweh. And fear came on all that dwelt round about them, and all these sayings were noised abroad throughout all the hill country of Judea. And all they that heard them laid them up in their hearts, in their minds, saying, what manner of child shall this be? And the hand of the Lord was with him. And his father Zacharias was filled with the Holy Spirit and prophesied, saying, I missed it. Lucky. I jumped too far down. I read it, verse 13. It reads, but the angel said unto him, fear not, Zacharias, for thy prayer is heard, and thy wife Elizabeth shall bear thee a son, and thou shalt call his name John. Thou shalt have joy and gladness, and many shall rejoice at his birth. And he shall, and that's what I just read about it. And thou shalt have joy and gladness, and many shall rejoice at his birth. For he shall be great in the sight of the Lord, and shall drink neither wine nor strong drink, because he be a Nazarite, and he shall be filled with the Holy Spirit, even from his mother's womb. And many of the children of Israel shall turn to the Lord their power. And it's the point, verse 17. And he shall go before them in the spirit and power of Elias, being Elijah, as prophesied in Malachi, the 5th chapter, right? To turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the disobedient to the wisdom of the just, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord. Right? That's basically what it is. So, going to the point of recognition about Job 8 and 8, about search your fathers, basically, your spirit will be inclined to search for the Heavenly Father and search for the way, right? Because the Lord is in that search, that pursuit of the Lord. He will start with men that are designated to facilitate you having a relationship with the Heavenly Father.
Amos 7:17. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, thy wife shall be an harlot in the sea, and thy sons and daughters shall fall by the sword. Yeah, your wife will be a harlot. That's why it's the whole structure, everything's been broken down. Because I'll finish the verse, it says what? And thy sons and thy daughters shall fall by the sword, and thy land shall be divided by lion. And thou shalt die in a polluted land. Israel shall surely go into captivity, forth of his land. Yeah, complete destitution, decimation. Jake basically being, a state they were in, hardcore bondage. And that's the thing is these, like that, that's the impact. Somehow, some way, I don't know how, like Esau is basically made, where being a whore has become, meant to be apparent to women, which is that's complete confusion. But these are all things where it's what? They're all new. These things are all brand new. And that's really what, you have with this society, where you had very recently, because a lot of the shit only really came in like from the 60s, where you had a whole lot of brand new shit brought in. Because really, like what, as far as for the like modern status quo, men and women are whatnot, comes from abortion and birth control. And it's funny because you had in America anyway, like abortion basically being thrown out in a lot of states. And hey, that's where it's like, women are getting up and up. It's been unholy terror. Imagine having to bear the consequences of your actions. Jeremiah 31:22. How long would that go about, O thou backsliding daughter? For the Lord Yahweh hath created a new thing in the earth. A woman shall compass a man. That's really, hey, how it all comes into a fullness. Because it's what? A woman compassing a man. That whole new status quo. Because it's something that, like, people always mention. Like, they say you go back like 2,000 years, the shit never happened. And why is that? They say, oh, it's because, now is the time of wisdom. Everything's become so advanced and progressive. But in reality, it's not. Everything's degrading. Because that's, and the joke is that's something foisted off by the elites. But then how you deal with the elites, they don't just have it where the women ain't inheriting shit. What's her name? Kate Rothschild. She played games, she got done out, man. She was disinherited. That's the thing, you have those aren't on the level of the elites, they might do it. And those aren't on the level of the elites, they might do a madness and get away with certain things. But then among the elites, they deal with ancient ways of doing things. They're looking to come back into their walk. So we go back. Job 8. So it's a bit more in Job 8. Job 8 and 8 says, for inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers. For we are but of yesterday, and know nothing, because our days on earth are a shadow. Yeah, like we're incredibly. When we come in, we got a short time. That the days have been cut short. And essentially, it's like, what? To even get up on levels, you need teachers, you need lessons, you need to basically go up to that state. And that's something that you don't have happening by and large. Among Jake, it's like those structures, it's like, well, that's why you need the family unit. The family unit is like essentially the bedrock of building a society on top. You'll have like the family units and then combine a bunch of them, to get shit rocking how it's meant to be rocking. And that's why now that centralized government is what everyone wants. That's where everyone kind of gets their how to conduct themselves, rather than having and well, they're working towards building up the whole of what the society, rather than, you know, building their family unit, building their household. Isaiah 29:15. Isaiah 29:15. Woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from the Lord Yahweh, and their works are in the dark, and they say, who seeth us and who knoweth us? Yeah, and that's what these elites have done. Because these things have been crafted. As far as for these things to get through, for these big shifts in society to happen, they need to get pushed through by those on the top. It's not something that you're going to have people on the bottom pull out. And even then, it's like with a good example is like with, you know, they'll say like, oh, revolutions of the people. But it's like, by and large, most revolutions, you need the backing of the military. It's like a thing of the backing of the military. You know, the people can get rowdy, but then, you know, a couple generals come together, start bashing their heads in, then they'll just set up like a military dictatorship. So, as far as these things there needs to be people at the top given a green light for shit to go down. So this is what woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from the Lord Yahweh, and their works are in the dark, and they say, who seeth us and who knoweth us? Surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. For the work shall the work, and that's the thing. All these things being turned upside down, it's a short season. Like it says in Job 20, the triumph from the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite is but for a moment. These things have been set up. These like now to people, because what? They don't look into history. They don't check out anything. They see these things as immortal institutions. But it's like these things are brand new. A lot of this shit is brand new. It's like the modern school system, the way a lot of things are set up, even having cars, passports, bank accounts, you know, there's so many driving licenses, there's all these kinds of systems that people kind of look at like these things have been here for all time. But what these things are essentially brand new systems. A lot of shit in the modern day is basically just set up at the end of World War II. Like the way the world is from like post-World War II, that's really like the most recent big change, shift in how stuff has been structured. And it's like the main generation you've had afterwards that's held power has been like the post-World War II, the baby boomers. That's kind of informed the mindset of the people. So it says, surely your turning things upside down shall be esteemed as a pot of... Surely your turning things upside down shall be esteemed as potter's clay. For shall the work say of him that made it, he made me not? Or shall the thing framed say of him that framed it, he had no understanding? And that's really what, you know, when you come into it, and that's the thing, Esau's come into a system, and then he's basically just been like, okay, well, now we're going to flip everything. But then it's like, we're trying to flip everything. It's like, what? Basically saying like, yo, the way it was set up, nah, that ain't how it's going to work. And that's why you have things like what with GMOs, like trying to use technology. A lot of things like nuclear technology, atomic technology, these things like the birth of computers and supercomputers and whatnot, these things have been like Esau trying to utilize to subvert things, to try and form a new world order. And that's the term that's always thrown out. Trying to have things, the way the world, how things, people have lived, how things have been done. They're going to kind of flip everything on its head. And then you've had that occur a few times. And now what? They're looking for that final one, that Web 2.0, that what's the other term? The fourth, no, is it the second industrial revolution? I believe they call it, where it's like what man merged with technology. That's the latest way they're trying to flip everything on its head. Where what you get implantable microchips, fusing with AI, so called. These things are what's being aimed for. And this, but then what? That's essentially trying to find fault with what Yahweh Hashem Yahushua set up. Because well, even with Esau, he's well, do with this. Proverbs 16:4. The Lord Yahweh hath made all things for himself, yea, even a wicked for the day of evil. That's the thing. Esau's got his purpose. The wicked's been set up. Esau, Edom, so-called white man, he's been set up for what? For the day of evil. That's his role. That's his job. So then, now that you would, if you're then gonna, what? He's had that role. He's had that job. For him to then, now flip it and actually he's going to be the arbiter of righteousness, that don't make no sense. That's why it's like, what? All he saw, these things, it's like, how are they going to stand in the long term? Isaiah 47. Start from verse 5. It says, sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of Chaldeans. Yeah, that darkness again. And that's really the mindset. Because as far as with the elites, that's the thing is, they're, go back to Acts, was it Acts 5? When it says, Gamaliel? Is it Gamaliel? Let me just confirm. Hey! Yeah, Gamaliel, when he said what? Hey, watch what you're doing is touching these men. Because what they're doing, if it be of the Most High, then there's nothing you can do against it. That's the thing that the elites are basically, that's something to meditate on, that the elites have put no stock in. Because as far as it's something that's set up by Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, then, like I said, there's no combat in it, there's nothing you can do. And then what, basically, the promises made unto Israel, made unto Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, on down onto the nation of Israel, these things are something that's immutable. That's something where they ain't going to be able to be changed. There's no way that essentially Esau can overturn that. Israel, like I just read, he was made for the day of evil. So he's got to do his job. And then as well for Israel as well, for the elect. The elect has got to be saved. So the elect have got to be out doing their job as well. It says what is it? It's up to you.
I don't know what the brother was getting into, but I have a few points. Right. I mentioned before about second Esdras. Oh no, that's what I was going to read. I was going to read this precept. All right, so I'm going to read this. Second Ezra 12 and 14. I'm sorry, Second Ezra 14. I shall start from 1. And it came to pass upon the third day I sat under an oak, and behold, there came a voice out of a bush over against me and said, Esdras, Esdras. And I said, here am I, Lord. And I stood up upon my feet. Then said he unto me, in the bush I did manifestly reveal myself unto Moses and talk with him when my people served in Egypt. And I sent him and led my people out of Egypt and brought him up to the mount of where I held him by a long season, right? And told him many wondrous things and showed him the secrets of the times and the end, and commanded him, saying, these words shalt thou declare, and these shalt thou hide. And now I say unto thee, that laid thou up in thy heart the signs I have showed, and the dreams that thou hast seen, and the interpretations which thou hast heard. For thou shalt be taken away from all, and from henceforth thou shalt remain with my son. All right, being Yahweh Shai, Ezra is going to go into the spiritual realm, and thou, and with such as be like thee until the time be ended. Speaking of the elect of the nation of Israel, all right, those people, that chosen elect number, they're going to be alongside the Lord, right, in the spiritual realm. And that's the reason why I'm reading this. Verse 10. For the world hath lost his youth, and the times begin to wax old. For the world is divided into 12 parts, and the 10 parts of it are gone already, and a half of a 10th part. And there remaineth that which is after the half of the 10th part. Now therefore set thine house in order, and reprove thy people, comfort such of them as be in trouble, and not renounce corruption. So the point being, we're in a time of the end, right? Those 12 parts come to pass, right, of the time of the first world, basically. But now we're coming up to the end, right? We're basically, you know, in the that's why we're in the 2000s, right? We're basically ultimately, I believe, we're in the 12th part, right, going into the new, yeah, 10 and a half. So right now we're basically in the 12th part, right? We're in a time of the end, where it's going to bring on into a new, as it says, the world was designed for 12 parts, and it's beginning to wax old. So with the thermonuclear destruction, it's going to mold the earth into a new shape. It's going to make the earth rock to and fro, all right? It's basically going to, real to and fro. It's going to have a new map of the landmass of the world, right? And replenish the earth, refresh it in time for what? The kingdom of heaven, right? And not only are we going to dwell upon the earth, we're going to basically go into the many houses, right, within the realm of the Lord, in the universe, basically. What was you on before?
Isaiah 47. Isaiah 47 and 5. Sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, but thou shalt no more be called the lady of the king. And that ties in with Isaiah 14 as well, where you have all the nations. They're essentially like, what? They're going to be looking at Esau like, yo, hold on, is this guy really the one, man? Is he really holding the reins on the whole earth? He really have everyone, you know, under his vibration, under his image. And that's going to occur, because why? Now the main thing is what? Is Esau's blessings, his sword, the military capabilities. That's the key thing to keep the other nations in check. That's why you have, even somewhere like fucking North Korea, these niggas can't even eat no goddamn food. But they, you know, he can shoot missiles, he can shoot nukes. So he's basically got some form of, some form of say in international affairs. Same for like India, Pakistan, man. Man are trying to get these guys to not nuke each other for the longest. And then that's why like Iran as well, getting nuclear capabilities. That's something that, you know, people were invested in going to war with. Mainly the state of Israel. So this, you know, that crumbling of all the other nations, basically, you know, the weak saying they're strong, and the gap of difference, you know, in power being caught up. Then they're just like, yo, why is this guy really in power? Why, you know? And that's, yeah. Even among Esau, that's going to be, you know, that's going to be a point. So it says what? Sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the lady of kingdoms. I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into thy hand. Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. Yet there was no mercy had upon Jacob. Jacob's been still no mercy found to be had. That's what it's like with Esau. All of a sudden it's about love and forgiveness. Esau always said, oh, you know, but we ended slavery. Say like, oh, modern day slavery is worse than blah blah blah. Like, bro, this transatlantic slave trade was a whole different kind of fish. And this is the thing, is you've got hundreds of years of absolute destruction. Visit upon, you know, mainly the free tribes on top, due to Benjamin Levi. But then what? You just saying like, oh, okay, they're just set free, but there's some broke-ass slaves. They're fucking thousands of miles from where they were originally, speaking a whole different language, a whole different culture. How you just like, oh, you know, I guess you might as well still want these films. Like how, you know, what you meant to, you know, you meant to give you a pat on the back for that.
But at the same time, they failed to mention all of the many devices that were brought in the midst of their release. For example, you had sharecropping, you had the era of Jim Crow, sharecropping, where they basically was, you know, the worst end of stick. Then also after that, you had redlining, which is still actually, which, you know, they didn't put that over here. You got a similar type of thing over here, where the desirable states remain within certain designated areas within the cities. There's certain areas you couldn't even imagine to move to, right? Like renting rooms or renting flats and things of that nature. I'll deal with rooms, for example. You know, the friend scenario. You know, Rachel, Monica, what's the other one? Phoebe. You know, Ross. All them cats. They're basically, you got loads of situations like that going on presently all throughout London, in and throughout London. I want to use an example. And their room rent they're spending is like fucking £5 man. 500 million. If you see the house they're living in, fuck me, it's like a £2 million abode, man. And they're barely spending any money to live in that house. It's posh. It's nice. But the reason why you won't have no Jakes in there, they keep you out of that facility, man. Right? And it's the same with like social housing, you know, council housing, certain areas where it price you out, the gentrification, all that type of stuff. Right?
And then, hey, that's the thing, is that these things, it's like over time, it's not the same shit that's getting done like, you know, 100 years ago.
Yeah.
But it's morphed into a new form.
It's the same, you know.
It's just this grandchild.
Yeah. And it's really just the same thing remodeled. You know, they strip down the packaging and it's repackaging basically. But it's the same shit, it's
achieving the same end.
Yeah.
And thou saidest, well, verse 7, and thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the land. Yeah. Now it's that's done. Everyone's just like, look, that's why it's like the reparations talk. People will just throw that in the bin and say, no, look, it's like, look, we're beyond that now, we're past it now. You have all these opportunities. I'm like, bro, it's like, any Jake talk to will realize the significance of the gap of having that history. Because the same thing I was saying with America. America's not really got that history. It's a new country comparatively, where you have, like, you know, over here in Europe, all these are like thousands of years old. So then that long line, all that history to look back to, all that basically building that's been done to then for them to like layer on top, that has an impact. That's the thing with Jake. It's like they were just out there with no root, no nothing to build from. Then they did build and got fucking, you know, carpet bombed. World War One niggas was out there fucking just carpet bombing Black Wall Street. So that's the thing as well. It's like Jake and you know, you got the crackhead epidemic and other things, where it's like Jake has basically been destroyed. So it's like you can't just then, in the context of all that, just be like, yeah, you guys should just, you know, just sort yourselves out. What's going on? Why is black culture?
Well, even today now, it really, you know, given a little more opportunity. You know, that's why there's talks of reparations and different things. But the reason why it's being done is because it's a prophecy in the Bible once again. Right? You know, they shall see more. That's all just an attempt, you know, for them to, you know, circumvent, you know, ease the recompense that due to them. Right?
Joel 3:4, yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, all the coast of Palestine? Will you render me a recompense? And if you recompense me, swiftly and speedily will I return your recompense upon your own head. And that's the thing, is that recompense, like what you know, what's that even worth? That's the joke. Is like, as far as, because when you look at the scriptures, what the Lord says, look, return unto them double according to their works. Ain't even a thing of evening out the scales. Ain't even a thing about, okay, we're gonna, no, it's about returning double. That means what, you're going into captivity, you get double the time, double the intensity. And that's it. That's how the Lord metes out justice. Because as far as the Jake, what? Jake did
well, we're the apple of his eye. So we were never meant to go through all these things. So us being the apple of the Heavenly Father's eye means that the fact that, you know, they touched something that they weren't meant to touch is one thing, right? It would have been a judgment anyway. So that's a natural manner in which the Heavenly Father deals. But the fact that it's his chosen, the people that were chosen to be there onto it, it's a whole, it puts it in a whole different dynamic.
Isaiah 47 and 8. Therefore hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. That's really the mindset as well of like people in the modern time. They're entitled, they feel they're entitled to enjoy, you know, the fruits of life. They think basically, you know, as far as society, they should be able to use it, you know, to gain their pleasure from it. And that's the thing. It's with, like, in reality, it's like all those those dreams, those lies you've been sold by society. In reality, you ain't got any guarantee of anything. The only real guarantee you've got is this place is going to be destroyed, man. This place is going to catch its enemy. And that's why it's hey, it says what, like, because even, well, I said it before, it's like the way people talk about, you know, the Most High is like they're owed something. They don't realize it's bro, you like, if you're dealing with well, if you're an Israelite, really, the only one I'll be talking to as well, is if you've got an agreement, you've got a deal that's been made by your forefathers, you got to hold up your end or else. That's something. That's the same thing. It's like you come in now. It's like, bro, if you come in, you're born into a situation. There's certain things you're gonna have. There's certain people that were born with advantages. Some people are born with fucking leg missing, but their brain ain't working too well. They might be in a fucked up part of the world. They might get born and their mom just decides to fucking leave them in a fucking bush in the wilderness, man.
Brenda's got a baby time.
Yeah, that shit in the dumpster. So that's how peak it is. Like you know, like, what the fuck? Like that's something people should already know. But it's like people that are born in a situation where they've been at the advantage. You know.
I was gonna say the name. Yeah. And you see the pop. Wow.
But thing is,
I fell off the planet.
yeah.
I'm tired of shit, but not that.
But yeah, but it's like what? Hey, all the hardships of life, that's something to discuss. That's part and parcel to existing on the planet Earth. People that just have that shielded from them. They've had the light, life was just rainbows, cotton candy, and trips to Disneyland. But hey, that's that's that thing that comes in as well. This new thing where you have childhood, where you just you're meant to be a kid, and you're meant to not know anything. Your brain's filled up with air, and then you just like run around like with drool hanging out your mouth, snot in your nose.
Just Solomon went into that in the book of Ecclesiastes, man. He said childhood is vanity. He said like, by all means, enjoy life. And know that one day you're gonna be pulled up on that. Yeah. So it's vain to actually, be you're under the veil of your parents, basically you're free from the covenant because you're not underneath it. Right? But only the point being is what? Is that the moment you are of age, you're gonna go be held to that standard. Yeah, you're gonna be held to that standard. And the moment you're held to that standard, then you gonna operate within the parameters.
It's like if you don't, then you're fucked. That's the thing as well. It's like most people, it's like now, really, like your childhood lasts until into your early 20s. Like, you don't really have to, like you don't really have to hold accountable for anything until like in your 20s.
But that's why a lot of people today, you have them, they're not ready to grow up and actually be an adult, take responsibilities. Now you look at like people, you go back 20, 30 years ago, you see Bruce Lee at the age of 24, man, that's a grown man. But then you see people today at the age of 24, that's a grown child. That's what that is.
So there's a meme on a TikTok where it's like my mom at 23, me at 23, and shit like that.
Yeah.
And they call it what? Peter Pan syndrome.
Yeah.
And there's another one. So I think Peter Pan syndrome for guys, adulting.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. They say, if you go and you have to sort out your taxes, or you have to sort out some form of things, I'm adulting today. And it's just like,
that's why this shit bullshit.
Bro, it's like you've got a bunch of just babies.
It's funny as well because even like what I found funny as of late, like oh man, it's a scenario that happens. But it's just funny because one of the points some funny shit. It's like you have people that hold to modern day ideals, and they have people that hold to the fuller age ideals. Now the people of today's ideals would be like, you don't want to mess with that individual because they're gonna make you do this and do that. You're gonna be like that. It's like, is that a bad thing? That man should be a fucking grown, responsible individual instead of like just running around like a headless chicken being outside. Doing what? Like that's even what kind of led to me being in the faith. Because the type of shit I was doing in the world, I was like, we've got more than this shit, more to this shit than that. No, we're just going out, we're just raving, fucking random girls, doing all kinds of shit, turning up, getting into all kinds of bother. But then it's just like, well, at the end of the day, you know what I mean?
Let me read this again. There was a video I've been preached in recently where it was like one of the Jubilee videos. One of the Jubilee videos where it was just a girl, just like the most hair-headed girl you would have ever met. And it's like she has to like go through different guys' phones to kind of find, find a guy she likes. And then like she starts asking him questions. Then afterwards she go through the pictures, and then she saw there was one Jake there, and then she was like, oh, you get lit, oh, you turning up. And then I was like, bro, as soon as that happened, I was like, bro, that's all she's putting any stock in. Because the whole time it was like, she was like, oh yeah, 0 brain cells. IQ, a room temperature IQ. Room temperature IQ. That's that. That's what you have a lot of people. It's like they're just out here. They're doing the most to not engage their brain with anything. They want to only engage with pleasures. This is where that's what it said. Isaiah 47:8. Therefore, hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that saith in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. Well, now they want to know the loss of children. They want to sue it. They want to fling. Man, Brenda's baby ain't getting a dumpster. She's discussing that nigga into the ocean, man. That guy's getting spun like a hammer.
He's getting turned into a fucking
smoothie.
No, the cream. What do they call it? Embryo. No, you know about it. Embryo.
Embryonic fluid or something.
It's like creams that I've heard a woman speak about it. The way she spoke about it was like it was palm. That's a full-blown baby. You want to use it for your skincare routine.
Well, that's the thingy washing in the blood of virgins, man. Classic witch trope. She keeps her beauty by bathing in the blood of virgins, man. So witch trope.
Embryonic stem cells.
I'm like, bruh, nah. That's demonic, man. Yeah, what the fuck is that shit? Like, that's like, and that's the thing as well. It's like all these kind of barriers have been pushed. I remember, I still remember that YouTube video where they were like, oh, women were making cakes for their periods blooded. I was like, bro, you're mentally unwell, man. You're unfit to like move around on the earth. It says, what? These two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. Thou shalt come upon thee in the perfection for the multitude of thy sorceries. Yeah. Girls even now, it's like even with having children, telling girls where it's like it's something that's not of priority. And it's something they also think they're entitled to. Man, I watched a guy look at a video where it was just a guy going around on the beach in I don't know, maybe fucking LA somewhere. Out of California, I don't know. Somewhere in one of the
Stem cells are basically they're embryo for 3 to 5 days. And they're putting this on people's fucking skin. That's good. Shit's fucking crazy, bro.
It says it's not despite the fact
that's how people, black women are emotional. There's no play. What the fuck was I actually saying? I can't even remember. I saw something fucking knocked out of my head. I'll read it. So, but these two things shall come upon thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in perfection, for the multitude of thy sorceries, and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. For thou wast trusted in thy wickedness, thou wast said, none seeth thee. That's the thing, a lot of things are done. The majority of how this society operates, that shit's done in secret. It's funny, because even when things are spoken about in open, like Parliament, they have the Parliament channel, where you can see what shit's being spoken about. But I remember when I was in the world, like as a kid, you see that shit would put you comatose.
And it's by design because they speak another language. It's called legalese. That's how they keep everything secret. Then you get the layman's term breakdown, and it's like they say they're gonna put fetuses in people's food. They're gonna have blood in ketchup. Like that's the type of shit that was going on.
Yeah, you just there like you
Hidden in plain sight.
well, just bro, that shit was actually a sleeping pill. But that's like goes into the childhood thing. I remember before, bro. It's like anything wasn't in cartoon form. Like my brain would just be like disengaged completely.
Yeah, I only read comics. I didn't read in books. It put me to sleep.
Yeah.
I'm being up until like when I came in the faith. I remember trying to read certain books. I just fall asleep. But then I got older. I built up the mental. But that just shows you. That's why I told you Revelations 1 and 3, man. About let's see, how's it go? Let's see that reader.
Yeah, let's see the reader.
Yeah.
Now for real, because even let's see the reader, bro, even something as simple as like reading a sign. So if you're at work and it's like information is plain as day presented to them, they're just like, oh yeah, they can ask the same questions. I'm like, people don't really pay attention to a lot of things. Like most people kind of move, they'll just kind of focus on like they're living like the drama, like Taina, like That's So Raven. They're the protagonists of their own TV show. That's how they kind of move through the world. They're thinking like, oh, you know, like what's the movie I'm thinking of? Limitless. Like Limitless, when he takes the pill and everything brightens up and all becomes snazzy. It's like when they go out into the world, it's like they're thinking like there's a bunch of spotlights, everything just goes super high color, and it's just like, oh, I'm living and enjoying it. Yeah. They're suddenly the main character of the world.
That's actually funny to me because you see a lot of the time as well that basically it's funny because that's I was gonna say
on the sign.
Yeah, but I was gonna say it was them that I was gonna mention. I said I've seen one guy before, but they were the most recent. I said I've seen, Northern Kings go by, they looked at the sign, and they just didn't comprehend. But that was spiritual. She looked, and I'm guessing she looked long enough to see, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, and whatnot. It's kind of like, yeah, but it weren't for her. And that's why when I see them go by, I just say, man, spirit ain't gonna be to make you see it. So it ain't for you.
Yeah, they're about what? They're about their purpose. Really that. So, verse 9, Isaiah 47 and 9. But these two things shall come upon thee in a moment, in one day. The loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy sorceries, and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. But thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, none seeth me. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. A lot of these things happens in the dark, happens where people don't see where shit's going on. So they're completely unaware of what's going down. It's like, I remember when I spoke to someone about the tax rate going up. They're like, oh, is it? I was like, bro, that shit is, that's 3-month-old news. Look at that. Rishi mentioned that months ago. It's like, people, they don't engage. They almost, it's like you start a conversation, you talk about the latest Marvel movie, you talk about what's on TV. You start talking about Johnny Depp and Amber Turd, like, in a goddamn dump. That's
banter. Banter. Banter when you put your face in the shit.
Yeah.
How's the program go? He said the shameless woman shall be counted as a dog. He said, when no. Like it's not a program. It's a world saying. If a dog does something wrong, rub their nose in, stick their nose in. They piss in your house, rub their nose in the piss anytime they do it. So they know that you don't piss in my house. Go outside. That's safe. I'm determined. I did that. So
Amber Heard, you know what I'm saying?
Amber Heard.
It goes too well.
Yes.
It's actually perfect. It says what? Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, they have perverted thee. And thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. That's really the level it's got to. It's funny as well, it's like, they say there's things, what is it, error that proceeded from the rule. That's the mindset that's pervaded throughout society as well. Everyone's really in the kind of mindset where they're focused on themselves. Hedonism. They're prioritizing themselves. You can have someone where it's like they're gonna think like, oh, that's why like the abortion thing's such a point, because there's bare girls where they'll be the town bicycle. Then it's like they have a kid, they'll be like, oh no, but I can't have this kid. I've got things I need to do in my life. And that's really the mindset. But then that's why I want. It says what those that live in pleasures. Because as far as it's like, if you don't want to have the kid, get a long-term partner. So you set up against works, or a don't. Like there's fucking choices there. But that's why it's like what? Everyone they're living in pleasure, they ain't paying attention, and they're holding it. They think they're owed. They think they're owed it by the world. It says what? Therefore shall evil come upon thee. Thou shalt not know from whence it riseth. And mischief shall fall upon thee, and thou shalt not be able to put it off. And desolation shall come upon thee, suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Yeah. All these things are going to come, all these things are going to occur. Because as far as, it's what? Like, with certain conduct, bro, you're gonna have to reap what you sow.
Second World War.
It's a lesson. It's a lesson that's simple. It's so simple you teach it to kids. But then what? It's something that people don't really. Everyone seems to think they're going to be able to tell. Judgment. They're going to be able to. They're going to be the one who's so smart. They're going to be so wise. They're going to be able to work their way around it. In reality, it's something where it's always catch up to you. And then even with judgment, it's something that might not play out in this span. But then what? The next time you come back, then you get caught out there. So verse 12, stand now with thine enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be, thou shalt be able to profit. If so be, thou mayest prevail. Yeah, so stand with thine enchantments. And that's something you've seen like becoming mainstream. Like, even if you go back like 30, 40 years, it weren't really a level. Even if you had it something you had in popular TV, because you had like the Witch, it's going back to like the 60s, like even growing up in like the 90s, you had Craft, Song, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You had like a wide variety of kind of stuff going into witchcraft. That becoming incredibly popular. And that's something that even to this day, well, you had, what's the most recent Marvel film you had come out? Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, and what? The Scarlet Witch. That's why, that's something that's appealing. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Yeah, all these different forms of witchcraft, all these different channels. These are things that are still leanable. Because why is it now you've had like star signs or something that's been blind actually taking over social media. Women are getting all into that stones, the different stones as well. That's been getting into as well. And it's
really because through the spirit, brothers have been getting into it on the right hand side. So the balancing of the equation is what the left hand side getting under. Because as we get closer to that time, remember it's our temptation to all that dwell upon the earth. This is where you have the battle of good and evil culminating to a boiling point, to where it's at its highest peak. Right, well, ultimately righteousness is going to come out on top, but it's to the point where they bump heads is at the peak, where at its highest point. So where will manifest righteousness? And even if brothers don't mess with stones and things of that nature, but that's the reason why we put out there on the left hand side, because it's to combat them on the right hand side. Right? The brothers don't mess with it, but does that mean that because someone on the left-hand side messes with stones, they can overpower, I believe it's, I don't know where it is, but I see everyone going straight forward. Over there. Oh, it ain't this one. Further down. So yeah, it's, even you got brothers that don't mess with that, alright? But does that mean they're going to succumb to the power of Satan because they use stones and shit? Hell no. Right? There's no enchantment against Jacob, man.
What you want to go through?
No, that's where it is. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what it's Numbers 23:23. Numbers 23:23. Surely there is no enchantment against Jacob, neither is there any divination against Israel. Yeah, there's no divination, man. No enchantment. Or the big one as well, Harry Potter. Harry Potter is like what, but hella mainstream. And you've essentially got like a whole generation of kids where they're all still into it. So that's why they're even like still bringing out new Harry Potter movies. Because why? The original is just like, it's a cultural phenomenon. It's like fucking James Bond or something else. Like, Indiana Jones. Like the kind of shit that just like a whole generation, everyone knew, or Star Wars. That's a better example. That's like the new Star Wars for a bunch of people. And it's what? It's based around which one? Surely there is no enchantment against Jacob, neither is there any divination against Israel. According to this time, it shall be said of Jacob and of Israel, what if the Most High rule? Because yeah, it's essentially gonna, Jacob is, well, I think it's, is it, no, not in this verse, 24.
Brother, what's this guy doing?
I have no idea.
You're in the bus lane. You're in the bike lane. Yo, excuse me. You're in the bike lane. You're in the bike lane. Yeah.
There's a bunch of people right next to the road. There's a stop area right. So this area is how's that probably like 20 bikes there through there? Man, yeah. That nigga could be killed. The guy just this is nuts. It's nuts. I'm like, whatever that audience. That shit, that say himself better be there, like the way these people are gonna go.
Every week, man. If you notice, it's like,
No, I know it is.
Everyone's
like, I'm
I know
like, bro,
brothers,
it's like,
whoever sees it on the camera, they're gonna see, oh shit.
Yeah. So back in Isaiah 47:13. Thou art weary in the multitude of thy counsels. And even that, it's so what? Esau's weary, man. It's something he's been exhausted for an extended period of time. That's why it's like a lot of these things is like, what is witchcraft? You go into like the, I believe the 1800s, maybe it was early 1900s. I think it was 1800s when, especially in London, you had like seances, witchcraft, all these things took off. It was an in thing, just like now it's made its comeback.
That's right. The whole outside the flat just randomly moving around. And then I saw a guy with it looked kind of wild. So yeah. It was just randomly moving around.
But yeah, that's what it says. What Esau's wearing. These things have been exhausted. And that's the thing as well. It's like that's how he's got to and maintain. All these guys on the top. You had like recently like Megan Fox and Machine Gun Kelly. All the fucking depraved shit they've been doing. That's been in the news, man.
Weirdo.
Drinking each other's blood, doing all kinds of fucked up shit. Like just like, oh, people are kind of like, whoa, that's interesting.
And Britney Spears as well, man.
Well, yeah, fuck
That crazy bitch. She
posted
and no one
the same
ain't
fucking
same new picture for the past like 10 months, man. The moment she got out of the conservative shit, bitch put up a fucking naked, picture on her fucking Instagram, man. Put some damn clothes on, man.
What's even wrong with you, man?
Yeah, man.
But that's how you know.
And
Bro,
no one ain't voicing, no one ain't saying. Everyone
oh,
down there in the
yeah,
punk bowl.
oh, you're so powerful, you're so freaking liberate. Come on, man. What the fuck are you talking about, bro?
When she bugged out when she shaved her hair and had a meltdown, everyone was like, oh, pray for Britney.
Yeah, she was like,
That shows you how fucked up the world is, man.
Actually, even more insane. Like, they're just trying to be like, oh no, it's normal. I'm like, bro, she's losing her mind. Straight, losing her mind. The thing is, anyway, she was like, what, 15, 16 when she got in the industry. So you know they did it
before she was even a child.
Oh, yeah. Was it Mickey Mouse Playhouse? So it's like, it's the same. A lot of them they were in that. You can tell them they're bugged out, man. It was like, there was the one girl that was in Disney. She was in iCarly. She like completely got out of acting. And then she was doing interviews saying like how she was fucking had eating disorders, just fucking bugged out all the time. Her mum was abusing her and all this shit. It's like legit anyone that wants, would force their child off to Hollywood, like look, they don't have any care for that child. They're thinking about the fame and success. Because that's like, you're putting your kid in there, they get destroyed.
You're afraid to say like, knew that hell I went through in the neighborhood for something good.
Isn't it?
Crazy.
Finally giving my wife. That's why it's like the toddlers and tiaras and all that. What's her name? The chick that was in the Sia video with what's his name? Shia LaBeouf, Manny Ziegler. She was like what 6? No, I think she was like 3 or 4. No, I think it was 5 or 6. 5 or 6 when she was on the dancing thing. And it's like even she's talented, but it's like, bro, what the hell are you putting a fucking 6-year-old through like intensive dance training, getting their ass on TV? It's like, bro, you're just trying to, farm fucking fame from her. And then afterwards, you always find out down the line as oh yeah, abuse happened along the way. This place is completely bugged out. So that says what? Now we're in the multitude of their councils. Then now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. That's the other thing as well. What are these Esau trying to do? Esau's he's trying to save himself from the destruction. He's basically trying to what? He's trying to save himself from getting ended. Because these guys these guys have they're getting it in for the left hand side. Like the brother mentioned, as the right hand side strengthens, the left hand side needs to be like the Matrix. When Neo got the powers of the One, then you had like Agent Smith. Basically, he got certain powers as well, to where he was able to be the counterbalance. We're gonna get.
is Sirach 33 and 10. It says, and all men are from the ground, and Adam was created of the earth. In much knowledge, the Lord hath divided them and made their ways diverse. Some of them have he blessed and exalted, and some of them have he sanctified and set near himself. But some of them have he cursed and brought low,
So I keep going straight forward, basically.
and turned out of their
Is it
places.
you praying?
As the clay is in the potter's hand to fashion it at his pleasure, so man is in the hand of him that made him, rendered them as life in best. Good is set against evil, and life against death. So is the godly against the sinner, and the sinner against the godly. So look upon all the works of the Most High, and there are two and two, one against the other. Right, that's how they every farmer does. So we're in a battle of good and evil. So where evil, where righteousness gains power, so the evil culminate to the point where the threshold, where wickedness reaches its peak, and then righteousness will come and reach out, great power, and establish itself as a great power.
Who is it?
They left.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah, 'cause I'm like, oh no, shut down there. Let me see it. Okay. Finish this. So Isaiah 47 and 14. Behold, they shall be a stubble, the fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. There shall not be a coal to warm at, nor fire to sit. Yeah. They're going to be a stubble. They're going to be, that's really what it's coming down to. Because with what do you call it? As far as with what they're doing, they're going through the left-hand side. They're going through the incorrect path. They're going through the wrong channels. And that now is a time where it's going to thrive for a little while. It's a period of what? Of when, the door to the ark is open. That's where that ship can run. The wickedness is allowed to multiply. Because that's it goes into what is it, Ezekiel, where it was those that sign crying for the abomination done in the midst. There needs to be abominations being done in the midst, for the elect to be lamented over. But then what? When it comes to the time of judgment, that's why fire comes in. And then like what Revelation 14 and 9, when those that are down with the beast receive his mark, then what? It's going to be toasted, man. Isaiah 66:15. For behold, the Lord Yahweh will come with so this like yellow shit. Like can't even speak. For behold, the Lord Yahweh will come with fire and with his chariots like a whirlwind to render his anger with fury and his rebuke of flames of fire. Yeah, it's fire. That's going to be the medium of communication. You're going to have just as like when Moses went on the mount and you had the ignorant as monkeys coming like, oh, why can't we talk to the Most High? Then they saw the thunder and they're like, nah, you know what, it's cool. You can deal with it. Nah, it's calm. It's the same thing. You're gonna have those where they're gonna have a bone to pick. They're gonna have an issue to take with a judgment. They can communicate with flames. They can take up their issue. With whirlwinds of fire, man, nuclear destruction. As they're getting disintegrated, as their eyeballs are getting vaporized and their tongues are getting disintegrated, they can take issue then. But it's actually, it's like, I think man, they're probably looking at the map, they're looking at the wrong side of the river.
Hopefully they see this shit. And they just think it's this.
So then I'm sure it's like, I'm buying back.
Like that, man. That's what we eat. You eat out there that say, yeah, I'm gonna get myself a whack to a lunch looking motherfucker.
The second the Russians get it.
Like the kind of nigga she could deal with, like a Jake, like the kind of Jake she was meant to match up with, man. But she just learned how to humble her fucking dumb ass. She'd actually get, you know,
Well, her job is obviously to receive flames.
that's it.
That's the thing, is, even if she humble and got with Jake, still get,
Really, ideally, I'm talking about, brother, but I'm just saying, it's what you said.
It's like if her mind was right, then the spirit would be on her to do that.
Yeah.
More like if she got her brother trying to drag him out of the truth.
And that's why she was women.
Guy's gonna give her all the worldly pleasure. Exactly. Or not.
It could be broke, man. It could be from Ukraine, man. She's getting money.
You get the Ukraine money,
Ukraine. Get a Ukraine money.
Bro, they just got fucking 600 million.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And they said they're gonna get like $9 billion more something over the course of the year. I was like, bro, what the fuck?
Welfare state.
And it's in the fuck bro. It's like the shit's crime. Like it's actually crime. Like it's all money. It's all money all the way down. It's all money. Man, it's always about interest. About the fucking Ukraine people. Shit. Coming again. So verse Isaiah 66:16. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord your house plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. That's how flesh is going to be pleaded with. Because, like I said, it's going to be what? Everyone's down with. They're all looking to get in with Esau. They're looking to get in with the second industrial revolution. They're looking to get in with that transhumanist agenda. These things are getting pushed. And it's like, and these things are agendas, because it's like you're seeing, why is it like the World Economic Forum? It's like, who the fuck are these niggas? The second the pandemic kicked in, these men came out of nowhere, and it's all a bunch of world leaders coming together, talking about, this is representative. Meanwhile, the average Joe has no idea what the fuck's going on. Second Peter 3:2, knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers looking after their own lust. Yeah, that's really how people are looking at this. Because even with the word, it's like, these men are thinking about how to get to that boat word. They ain't thinking about, the word. They ain't thinking about Yahweh shall return. They're thinking this is just, some light entertainment whilst they're tipsy before they get in there and rave it up. But yes, that's going to be inversed. It's funny as well, because even with grain shortage, like fucking beer is made from grain as well, bro. It's like a lot of these things, people don't realize the scope of how most people are going to be what? They're going to be looking at it as a thing where it's just like, oh, it's just money. It's just money. It's just, you know, it's just food. They're like, oh, you know, they're just like, I have to pay a little extra for my the BOT. They don't realize how much it is. And saying, where is the promise of his coming? And since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of creation. They ain't even saying of the creation, but they're saying of the Big Bang. Since the dinosaurs got wiped out by a meteor. So I was watching something, I was like, bro, they had them in there. Spider-Man. And it's Spider-Man, well, you mentioned Spider-Man earlier.
Yeah, but Spider try to come back, you know.
I ain't gonna be your apprentice. It says what? For this they are willingly are ignorant of that by the word of the Most High the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water, whereby the world that then was being overflowed with water perished. That's something that's not held in regard to people's minds. Like the most recent, recent reason why those people tell it's funny though. I saw Rainbow the other day. Yeah, I saw Rainbow the other day, and it's like people really wouldn't even know. It's fucking clear as fuck as well. I think it's like rain and then
Going the wrong way.
Excuse me.
It's that way, it's that way, it's that way, it's that way.
Which one? That one?
Yeah, something you
It's
see.
the one again.
Everyone's going, everyone's there.
It's down there.
Look, no.
It is. It's there.
It's not. It's a line.
Everyone's over there.
It's moving. It's not just on this.
Yeah. This isn't the dock. You're gonna be able to get
Everyone's over there.
There's only one. There's not.
No.
You wanna go
Everyone
this way?
runs down there and then they run back that way.
Thank I kill you if you.
Come back and kill me, I don't mind. Come, I'll kill you too.
Well, I'll kill you. That's a little extreme. It's not even like I'll be upset.
That's what reggaeton should kill me. Alright then, come kill me. Why?
For that particular place. Whereby the world would then, yeah. Oh, well, I was going to say, well, rudely interrupted. Yeah, the only thing people think about Noah is that Russell Crowe film, man. That had all kinds of mess. That film was abysmal. The man had the angels come down. Nah, I need to go out the film. But that's why otherwise people won't even think about it. But then what? It's like you have what, the rainbow will go in the heavens, and it's what? It's the sign essentially what? That the earth wasn't going to be flooded. But then it's still there what as the example. And then what? You have the second death, which is going to be what? Through fire. Yeah, the second death was going to be what? Through fire. But it says what? But the heavens and earth, which are now by the same word, are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing. Well, yeah, this was been reserved unto fire. Because that's the word that's gone out. It's just like it's going to be done out, man. The wickedness is exceeded. It's like, yo, it's going to flood the thing. And like, two volcanoes and whatnot. Out there, well, that's the thing as well. It's like when Esau, because it's the same thing now as with before the flood, where it's like they saw they were like, oh, we can just get away with certain things, then they go ham. Esau's doing the same thing now. Esau, he's been given the liberties, the license. That's why it's like, what? Because he's not been held to account for his actions. He's just been further emboldened. More madness is going down. But the heavens and the earth, which are now by the same word, are kept in store, reserved unto fire, against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing. The one day with the Lord is 1,000 years, 1,000 years is one day. Yeah, he's like, what seems like a hell of time for us, even, you know, the time out here, ain't even a day, ain't even an hour. But really, the time we're out here is of no account. In the course of that day, we're barely here. Bro, I saw it and I was like, the guy was holding.
Right.
It wasn't even like the most.
No,
People are bugged
but
out,
but the reason why people are bugged out is because judgment is gonna come their way, man. Like it's just like it's real name, man. You can see the pride of life, the level of entitlement in people. That one day life is just gonna come here. Now that girl, I don't know. If anything, it's easier for a car to stop than a bicycle. But she ran for the car, then she didn't run for the bike. It's like,
the brakes on the bike, there could not even be any brakes. I know it's times that people brake with their feet.
Yeah, the fixies, like proper.
But then it's like, what? You know.
Or they use their foot on the back road.
Yeah, the fucking old school.
Yeah.
But that's why it's like completely ignorant as to the purpose of what's going down on the planet Earth. And that's the thing, well, even with it's like you see people across the road where they're sure like, oh, this guy's gonna stop. Bro, it's like there's people that are fucking dead
Because that's what it's for.
Yeah.
And that's why I was gonna say, you're reading about the rainbow. People are taking up the rainbow and saying it to be something of inclusion for everyone, you know, like all evil alphabet. Yeah. But then the reality is that bonus that's a memorial to the day when Noah, alright, and his sons, his daughter-in-law and his wife basically came out of the ark being saved from the wickedness of the world before. Right? And how basically that the Lord mentions that in the book of Peter, as you read, right? That basically, you know, that was a memorial to the time of Sodom and so now you have this footballer that plays for PSG. I'm not too familiar with those names. I'm not too good with that. But he's quite a well-known footballer, baller. Not in Mbappe. If he was in Mbappe, I would have not.
No, there was something I read earlier today about
It's a dark skin colour. He said he wasn't gonna wear any kit with a fucking rainbow in it. And it's good on him, man. He ain't gonna wear that. Guess what? He's receiving backlash. Now, how are you gonna force me to join my part of the play in something I don't believe in? That makes sense tomorrow. I'm just gonna wear Ukrainian flag. I'm not wearing that shit. It's a stamp where you know what I'm saying? I don't give a fuck. As far as I'm concerned, I'm in that country. I'm in that country. They're gonna do some fucking thing.
So exactly when it went down, those Nigerians over there.
Whoa.
Those Nigerians.
I know it's African, but I'm saying it's abundance. Close up or you go finish?
Verse 2 Peter 3:9. The Lord is not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, but is long suffering to usward. Which is really what it is. Like it mentions in Romans 9, I believe. But if the Most High is willing to show his wrath, endured with much mercy, the vessels of wrath fit to destruction. Essentially what? Enduring Esau, the wicked, to rule and push the wickedness to extremes and extents never before seen.
And it's easy to endure, man. When you go to the book of Malachi, what did Malachi say? I shall bear the indignation of the Lord if I have sinned against him. So we know that's when you put in, the reason why we're in this position is because of the prophecies written in the book of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, right? But we didn't take you to the Lord's commandments.
Long-suffering to usward, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. And even that's even for Jacob. The door being open as far as the salvation being within the Al-Shai, even that's a mercy. That's a suffering. Jake off in the world, giving honor to everything but the Most High. I'll be giving honor to the son, giving honor to his wife, to his mom, some random to his dog, bring your white guy called Caesar, but no honor to Yahweh Hashem Yahshua. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. Seeing then all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness? Since it's going to melt with fire, and it's like for something to melt with fire, that's legendary levels of heat. See metal,
Are you on the boat?
metal being melted. I was watching they're doing the new Game of Thrones series, The House of the Dragon. They did like a little animated series with the dragons before, and they said like the dragons like breathe fire on a castle. It was so hot it made the metal start fucking dripping like water. And that's like the levels of heat you're going to be dealing with when you get to the nukes. It's going to go above and beyond that. People are going to be, body parts are going to be getting vaporized, man. It's like there's fire. It's like someone catches, fire. Then it's like you can like. Then that's why those fire blankets where you can put over someone, and then it will at least put out the fire. This is some shit. It's like, bro, the air's going to be getting vaporized. Seeing then all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of person ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness, looking for and hastening unto the coming of the day of the Most High, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Nevertheless, we according to his promise look for new heavens and a new earth, wherein dwelleth righteousness. That's what our conversation's all about. We're pushing forward to what? That place where that new heavens, that new earth. As far as for now, it's like within this place, there's nothing that can be salvaged. There's something where the foundation is rotten, decayed. It's not something that it's done. The flames already lit. They're going to basically bring this place to its end. People are like, oh, you need to have hope. It's like, bro, you read the news, you lose all hope, bro. What's going on in the world? They ain't positive shit is happening, bro. It's like 3 people getting good news, and like 997 bad news in comparison. Right? That's why. It's all that's going to culminate. It's going to come to an end. But yeah, you know what I mean? Nah, man. Yeah, man. Oh, shit. Okay. Yeah.
Close up.
But yeah, close out. Say all praises to your
I
hour.
want Bar Shem, Yahweh Shai, Bar Shem, Harakah, Kudash,
Double one to the apostles and those who bring us.
Shalom, shalom, shalom.
Lord willing, next week.
Will.